Hello and welcome to EduCurious. I'm so excited today. We have guest star Dezonia Williams. She is our inclusion and ESC coordinator, and she has so many things that she is in charge of. So I'm hoping to learn so much more about her department and the services that she provides our school, our students, and especially some of our populations that we might not be as familiar with. So thank you so much for joining us, Dezonia. I'm so glad to have you. And I want to start off by saying I'd like to hear your story. What brought you to where you are right now in education?
I was actually happily living in Tennessee, working as a cosmetologist. I did that for 15 years until my husband decided that he had been called back to Florida to work in the ministry with his dad. So once we got here, I continued to work as a cosmetologist for a little while, but I went back to school because I wanted to get on the same schedule as my children. My son had just started kindergarten when we came to Florida. So I went back and I finished my AA in education. And from there, I went to my BA and then two masters for education in curriculum and instruction and education leadership.
Comparing the two, like cosmetology is about helping identify what somebody needs and wants and delivering that. And then education is different, but yet very much the same. Do you see any connections with career one and career two?
Just I never thought about it before, but actually there is a connection in the fact that when you are giving someone a hairstyle or a makeover or anything like that, it is to boost their confidence and make them feel a certain way about themselves. And that's the same thing that we do in the ESC department. We are supporting and assisting those students building their confidence in themselves, although it's academically, but we are making them see themselves in a different light.
And sometimes you have to pull out what do they need? What are they really trying to tell you as well? So tell me a little bit about the ESE department. How do you support your students in that department emotionally, socially, academically? It's a whole child approach, and I would like to learn a little bit more about it.
I have an amazing ESE team that helps me support our students. We build strong relationships. We incorporate social emotional learning strategies, provide specially designed instruction, use positive reinforcement, and create a supportive classroom environment. My inclusion teachers really work hard to collaborate with the general education teachers, the specialists, and the parents to address individual needs and ensure that the students feel safe, competent, and comfortable in the classroom.
Do you ever draw upon your expertise in curriculum when you're developing programs and plans for these students?
Well, you kind of have to because teaching ESE, you have to know those best practices. So going through curriculum and instruction was a benefit because we did cover the universal design and the specially designed instruction. I couldn't get it out for a second. So we do have to know how to address certain needs. We have to be able to pinpoint, okay, is this the problem or is there something underlying this problem? And then how can we address that? A lot of the times we have to address one issue before we can get to the academic issue.
So you have to identify some of the underlying maybe causes or sources or deficits in one of those areas, the academic deficit that's creating the behaviors or the cognitive deficit. How do we get these students? So there's a lot of guidelines that I know that you have to abide by. It impacts when a student has a certain schedule, how discipline is handled, how many minutes they get with another teacher in the classroom. So please tell us a little bit about how you structure something like that and how what are your guidelines, like what sort of Florida laws, policies, procedures do you have to be extra familiar with to ensure that those needs are met?
Well, we have to take into account a lot of federal and state laws that are related to ESC, the IDEA, the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, as well as Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act. So we have to look at the whole child and see where they are experiencing those educational gaps and what can we do to help fill those gaps.
Now, for maybe some of us not in the educational world, can you give us a brief overview about the difference between a 504 and an IEP?
A 504 plan provides more accommodations. Most students who are on 504 plans don't really require extra assistance in the classroom versus the IEP. Those students may have more severe disabilities or even multiple disabilities that are impacting their academics. So they have different therapists or other related service people who come in to assist them, as well as an inclusion teacher who comes in to support them academically.
So, working in this department takes a lot of patience, a lot of knowledge, a lot of wearing multiple hats. What do you think your biggest strength is in this department at our school?
My biggest strength, I feel like, is my team. When I first came to this position, it was a one-man show. There was me, and then I had a para who was often pulled to substitute in other classes. So I alone wasn't responsible for writing IEPs, delivering services, and assessing kids. So I had to advocate a lot when I first got into the position, and eventually we did build an ESC team. So now I have 3 inclusion teachers, one at each grade level, and they are amazing at servicing their kids, really getting to know their kids and know what those kids need. And then they come to me with any needs that they aren't sure about or ways to address those needs. We put our heads together and we make it happen for the kids. And so they are my strength because they are now doing most of the heavy lifting.
Can you walk us through the process of writing an IEP, even maybe like a parent's concerned? I feel like I need, and then just a little bit about those steps that they would need to take.
It's a team effort, because the teachers are at school, they see what the kids are doing in the classroom, they see the needs and they see the gaps. The parents come in and they tell us what they see at home. Most parents are pretty good about advocating for their kids because everybody wants their student to do well. So much so that a lot of times they want to pile on the assistance, the services, and the accommodations, but that's not always what the student needs. So sitting around the table with everybody who interacts with that child throughout their academic day is important because everybody brings something different to the table, what they have seen in their individual classrooms, as well as what the parents have seen at home. And then we can come to a consensus as it to what the student needs. And at the middle school level, the children are invited into their meetings because no one knows better than the student what it is that they are feeling in the classroom and how we could best support them. So everyone on the team is important.
I love how you invite the children to be a part of their educational process. That creates such buy-in and they feel like they're supported. What do you think that your biggest accomplishment in education is right now at this point in your career?
Right now, it's creating an atmosphere where everyone feels supported. I've encouraged my team to come to me with their challenges so I can advocate for them while they're advocating for their students. Like I said, when I first came to this position, it was just me. And it was hard to get that support because I was the only ESC staff in the school. Of course, administration did what they could, but everybody else has their own hat to wear. So I feel like the biggest accomplishment has been building that team so that all students are receiving their services, and we continue to improve upon that daily by educating the teachers and everybody else that we have to work with.
What are some of your biggest challenges in the ESC inclusion department?
The biggest challenge would be documentation because there's a saying, if it's not documented, it didn't happen. And of course, we have to document and have proof that we did provide the services and accommodations that are written out in those IEPs and those 504s. So it can be a challenge and it's daunting to get the teachers to take that time out of their day to make that documentation. And I mean, it's a lot for everybody. It's an extra step that we have to go through, but it is necessary and it's legally required. So that's one of the biggest challenges. And the other challenge can sometimes be those parents, because like I said, they want to have everything, to support their child. But it's important for us to know that ESC department is not to give the child a leg up. It is to level the playing field. We're not creating crutches for the kids to lean on and never strive for that next level. We are creating supports so that they are able to move to that next level and grow towards independence and in their education.
Well, I've learned quite a bit about this department watching you over the years, but especially answering some of these questions on EduCurious. So thank you for your time. I look forward to coming to you with any other questions, and you have been doing an amazing job. So I appreciate you so much. So everybody, join us again next time for a different episode where we talk to administrators, substitutes, homeschoolers, PTO parents, anybody who has buy-in in education and has something to share, because we can all learn from each other. Thanks so much. I'll see you next time.